This week we're working with one-step equations that have subtraction by using addition, the inverse operation. So the inverse of subtraction is addition. Now, last week we talked about the subtraction property of equality. This week it is the addition property of equality because we will be using that inverse operation for our equations. So it states if you add a number to one side of an equation, you add the same number to the other side. This is why we do our wall when we're doing our equations. So the first step is to isolate our variable. Remember what isolate means is to get it alone. And how do we do that? By using the inverse. So we're going to have a subtraction problem, and we're going to have to try to isolate the variable by using addition. Next, we're going to do this on both sides of the equation. But I'm going to just use an equal sign because equations have equals. Finally, the last step is to solve for x. Now, x is my variable, but I could have the variable y, p, q, any variable we solve for, but we just use this generic term x. So let's take a look at our first problem. Again, we are going to have our wall, okay? Now, what that tells me is I build the wall around my equal sign, so I remember whatever I do on one side of the equation, I have to do on the other. So if I have x minus 14 equals 4, and I'm solving for x, I have to do the inverse. What is the inverse of subtraction? It's addition. So I write my addition sign. And what am I adding? I'm adding 14 because I was subtracting 14. Whatever I do on this side, I must do on this side as well. So now I can solve for x. These two cancel each other out. 14 minus 14, or negative 14, plus a positive 14, it equals 0. So guess what? X is isolated. It's all by itself. And now I add 4 plus 14, I get 18. Well, let's check to see if it's accurate. So what do? I plug x, 18, in my problem. 18 minus 14 equals 4. It works. Now, here we're going to take a look at our rational problem. You will not have a rational number problem. You will not have a whole lot of fractions, but we're going to keep revisiting fractions because it's important. So again, the trick to isolating my variable is by building my wall around my equal sign, so I do this on both sides. So I have minus 1/6, so I add 1/6, which ends up giving me my cancellation, and I end up with x all by itself. X is isolated. There's no more fraction. But now I have to do it on both sides. Okay, so this is where it gets tricky with fractions. A lot of kids get confused. So first we find the least common denominator by finding the least common multiple. If you don't recall how we did that, I'm going to review with you. So I take my two denominators and I put them in here and I find a common factor. Well, 3 goes into both and I put it on the outside. What's left over if I take 15 divided by 3? I end up with 5. If I take 6 divided by 3, I end up with 2. Now, what did I do to find my least common multiple / least common denominator? Remember our big L? What I did was I multiplied, and guess what? 3 times 5 is 15 times 2 is 30. So that, my friends, is the least common denominator. And I just put it in here. Now, I have like terms, which is a common denominator. I have to get equivalent fractions. What did I do to 6 to get 30? Well, I'd have to multiply by 5, and whatever I do to my denominator, I do to my numerator. 1/6 is equivalent to 5/30. What did I do to 15 to get 30? I have to multiply by 2. And I do that to my numerator as well. Now I can add these together. I add the numerators, keep the denominator, so x equals 7/30. Now, like I said, we're not going to have a lot of those, but you still need to know how to do those, so practice. Next, our next example. Let's go ahead with step 1. Use the inverse. The inverse of subtract is add. I do it on both sides of my equal sign, of my equation. Now I can solve. These two cancel each other out. X is what's left. X equals, when I add them together, because that is the inverse, I end up with 8. Now, will this work out? How do I check? I plug it into the original problem. I take X, which equals 5 8/10, and then I subtract 4 3/10. Do I end up with 1 5/10? Yes, I do. Check. Now, we're going to do a word problem, and you need to pause and write this down so you have context. If you do not write this down, it's going to be very difficult when we analyze our problem. The problem states, Eleanor spent $12.75 at the store. She now has $17.23 left in her wallet. How much did she have before shopping? Okay, I read the problem for understanding. Okay, now there's a couple things. She spent this amount. Well, remember when we were doing words that represent operations? Spent means to subtract. So Eleanor spent $12.75, which means you have to take that amount away from our start. The start amount, okay? So we know that. She now has, so this is what's left in her wallet. So now it equals, let's see, $17.23. Okay, now guess what? The question, see that question? That means I'm going to have how much money is X, but how much did she have before shopping? So that's my X. X is money before shopping. So let's set up our problem. Now that I know what everything equals, I can start. So X is before shopping, and then I had to subtract the amount she spent, and she now has $17.23. Can I find out how much she has at the beginning? Absolutely. Here, I'm going to start here. And this is subtraction, and the opposite or the inverse is adding the same amount on both sides. Now, what makes this nice is when I add decimals, I know I have to line them up. So I've lined them up, and this way, these two cancel each other out because they end up with 0, and X is left. So it's isolated. And then I add these together. So I start from right to left as usual. So did she have $29.98 to start? Well, let's plug it into the original. The original was X, and we said X is this. So I'm going to say $29.98, and then I'm going to subtract $12.75. And I'm going to hope that I did this properly and end up with $17.23. 8 minus 5 is 3, 9 minus 7 is 2. Decimal point. 9 minus 2, 2 minus, hey! Check. And that's how we do it.